Jeff Bonney. I'm I'm a visual artist. I'm one half of Ratartat.
Widmer on the other half, and as Jeff said, we work all over the place, and that's metaphorically, and we're all over the place as well.
We'd like to include you as well. So what we've got is some hats to wear, and these were made by
these hats.
as
These
little
were made on
gifts
the
to
day.
you all from
There's
the,
only 10, so we'll have to
cloth
share
that was
some.
made.
One of the things I'd be interested in this process is the muck around with the artist, the actually making it a playful activity, so that you discover things through that and through their individual practices at the same time. So I think one of the things that we're looking at is how we might be able to make that work. God knows we can.
What we wanted was the evidence of their hand in this as well, not just that we're going to report on what they said. So what we did was we made sure that they replied to us in their own hand, and so the evidence of that is with their portraits as well. But what we've done for the sake of the report is just in this brief summary try with those questions that were asked to draw out from each of the replies what was perhaps the essence of what they were thinking about. The first was exchange, and that was from ideas to woes and worries. So it wasn't just an exchange of something, it was an exchange across the board, from what people thought to what they were feeling, to how they did things, a genuine exchange. Empowerment, the power of people's own stories, which may lead to a more compassionate society.
An artist is first and foremost an artist. He or she has got to have all those other, hats that they wear.
And then a pride and a sense of ownership in the making as well as what was made.
Art where there are no rules can create unique settings where a range of skills and strengths can be developed almost without realising it.
I suppose one of the frustrations that I feel at the moment is working with bureaucracies and how they demand particular things. The conversation is usually one way.
It was agreed across the board that communities have a great bullshit barometer, and that you have to establish that trust to make anything of value. You have to open yourself up to that community as well as take in what they have to offer.
It's like the coach, right?
Yeah.
He's a motivator. In our case, there's a motivator, and the coach has to get all the players to play along and be a part and pull their weight.
The first one was a stipend. In brackets, I'm serious. And practical. Yeah. And this was the notion that artists, in fact, can work in communities and direct projects. It doesn't have to be someone else identifying what necessarily can happen. Artists working in communities can understand what that community needs through discussion, through observation, through a whole lot of stuff.
I suppose the way that we work, we developed a way of working the first job we ever did, and we haven't really changed that much. It's a strategy that we've worked to work with community that works, and it did from the start.
Where are we nourishing and nurturing the artist to be able to do things better?
Hats. The hats were supposed to be a metaphor, symbolise the many hats that artists wear when they are out in the community. We don't only wear one hat. We're not just artists. We do a whole lot of other stuff. So that was the metaphor.
Professional development and nurture. There we go. There's the idea of a real wage, time to nourish, and again coming back to administrative assistance, so that the artist is doing what they are best at.
And that's why I think Ratartat works so well, because there's two of us. We're not just out on our own, wearing it all on our own shoulders. Evaluation, attendance, and that's in both sides. People showing up. There's a whole lot of different ways you can do that.
Showing up and being involved,
being part of it.
It's a simple way to evaluate.
Yeah.
I remember the first job we ever worked on was an artist in residence, and the evaluation we did, and it was for Arts Victoria, the evaluation we did in picture and poetry. And it was actually quite well received, and we thought, geez, this is easy. Well, from now on, all our applications we'll do in the same way. We were soon disabused of the notion that would work.
Engagement with the disengaged, dialogue with the unspeaking.
But latterly, we're actually returning to that notion of looking at creativity in all sorts of ways, creative maintenance, creative evaluations of stuff, and we've gone back to making books about projects, so people evaluate it in a creative sense. And I think that's one of the things that is perhaps the way that we'll look at this too.
Those wonderful small moments that happen, might be one or two that you can roll off as an anecdote at the end of it, and it just gives you so much. Then you can evaluate a little bit. Then you can say, hey, yes, we got through, or that was great, that was wonderful.
The artists who collaborate with community are not an entity like a club or an institute. They are as slippery in definition as the communities in which they work, but they understand those communities because they become part of them. They work across the community in many different guises. They exist within them in a solid way. The results are excellent but defined in more complex ways and are currently accepted as methods of examination. In the beginning, we talked about the boost for the poor cousin, as Jeff just said, where terms like local artists and community art have almost a pathetic ring. Our own knowledge and that of the artists with whom we've had discussions put to rest any inclination to believe those terms. The art that we make and the way it's made is an effective companion to the other more prominent, fine and valuable means of art making. And there are two spheres of activity in this. One is the art making place and time in a community, and the other is the perception of it from the outside, perception of the art made. In the first sphere, the making, the artist's positions are complex but clear and powerful. The results achieved are excellent and the means to those results stimulating and interesting. The art making in communities can be as cutting edge, hold the jargon, as anywhere. Art making in communities touches large numbers of individuals. The second sphere regards the perception of art and community from outside that community. Judgments about art need to be made with a trust in our own senses and understandings of what's in front of us. Preconceptions, prejudice and the lack of sense of legitimacy in real art terms condemns art making in community to a status of poor cousin. Making art in communities allows the people involved to find a way in which they can trust art, use it as a tool and look at it as a valuable addition to their own lives as well as a boon to the much, much wider community.
And things won't change. You know, we will always be bound by someone else's evaluation method or whatever until we say this is how it might be.